This is a demo of using Entodicton to make a simple D&D kind of app. So what I'm going to first do is copy the tutorial code so we can use that as a template. And I'll point it at my deployment instead of like the demo deployment. I can get that off the subscription page, so the server name goes in the URL part. And grab the key. Okay, let's give it a run, see if it works. Yep, so now we can start adding the stuff we want to do. So I'm going to make, it'll be like Dungeons and Dragons, it'll be like rooms and players and monsters and things in the rooms or whatever. So let's just start with the players. So I'm going to make a data structure with some players in it. Ta-da! Aragon and Bilbo. Now we'll start on the sentence we want to do. Who are the players? So let's make that work. So this is a generalized operator precedence parser. So we need to define operators like you do like 1 + 1 and 1 + 1 plus is an operator. So we're going to make players and who into operators. You don't actually have to do this because they're really like more of the constants. But if you make them into operators first, it sort of acts like a type system, which isn't, I'm not really going to use it right now, but it's useful in the future. So to mark operators, you put the square braces around them, and that marks the operators. Then I'm going to mark the as an operator. In this case, it's a prefix operator, an operator that takes one argument, like, well, like the players. And now to mark the argument, I have to put parentheses around the argument so I can tell that players is the argument to the and not another operator. And then I put the parentheses around the phrase the players to show that it's a prefix operator with one argument. Otherwise, it would try and pick up who and are as operators. So this scopes it properly. So that's now the as a prefix operator. And now I'm going to mark are as an infix operator. It takes two args, who on the one side and players on the other side. So I'm going to mark those as mark the arguments with parentheses, and then I have to put parentheses around the whole thing to be like a top level thing, like React, where you can't have multiple top level elements without wrapping them in a div. 2b. So the inside the braces, the 2b is actually the operator ID, and the stuff following the bar is a word that's mapped to that operator ID. So I'm just going to run it again and discover that, oh, well, I have to do a bridges. So the way this works is there's a list of contexts, which are basically property bags. Contexts have a marker, the marker is the operator, and the bridges map from one context to another. So it's sort of like a little bridge, and the contexts are islands. And so you have to tell, so the bridges amount to the semantics. So you have to tell the system how to map, when it applies the operator, how to map the context that the operator was in to the next context. And it takes all the other operators too. So here I'm just going to make who and player. These are operators that have no arguments, and they just evaluate to themselves. This is how typing gets in. So I'm going to do that's a prefix operator. So it's like every, so every car, the car. So I'm going to make it like that. And the way I'm going to, I want the output of this, when I map the context to the new context, I want the output to be a person and have some sort of tag on it that says the was applied in some way. So I use a spread operator. I'll do it like this. This is the way I did it. So I had this pull from context idea. So that'll be representing the. And then the operator, the spread does the set on op. Oh, so there's three predefined values here, operator before and after. So operator is the current operator in the current context, or operator that's being applied. Before is the stuff before the operator, and after is the stuff after. Okay, so let's do to be. That's an infix operator, so I'm going to copy earn because that's like an infix operator. I'm just going to set the subject to be before and the object to be after. Whatever, so that's just going to fire in the context. So let's run it and see what it's doing. It's helpful to do this incrementally so you can see what's going on. Oh, I put the wrong sentence in, so we want to switch that back to the right sentence. What was the sentence? Who are the players? That's one we're working on. So I forgot to update that, so let's update that. And now run it. Okay, so the output is, it's just printing the generated output, which currently is just taking the JSON and converting it to a string, so that's not very interesting. You can also see some of the logs. We can't really see what happens, so let me turn the debug stuff on. And you can get a trace of what it does as it's applying the operators to the context. So I'll just print out the trace. It comes back as a property in the responses called trace. And then you have to turn a flag on to get the trace. True, now let's run it. Now we can see what is happening on the server side. Okay, so that's the whole trace. It's printed out in sort of YAML style. Where we got, so it starts with a set of 4 contexts, one's corresponding to each word, and the who/1 is like the operator and the level. When, in operator precedence, when you evaluate a operator, the result of evaluating an operator can be another operator. Here the player operator has been applied. It has no arguments, and then the next operator that was chosen was the the, so it went and applied the the. Now it doesn't look quite right because it has a marker is the, but we don't want the result of applying the to player to be a the. We want it to be a player because that doesn't make any sense to have it be a the. So let's, yeah, so it's not, we don't want it to be a the. So need to go fix it. So when I did the spread, I spread operator, but I shouldn't have spread operator because that pulls the marker from the operator context. I want to spread the after, and then I'll get it to be a person because this is just like the JavaScript way Java stuff works in JavaScript. Okay, so now we run it again. When we see the operator applied, hopefully we'll see that it is a person now. Yeah, so now you can, or a player, sorry. Now you see the marker is a player. So now we have the context who with to be and player. It's still not getting the to be is not getting applied. And so we have to fix that next. So here you can see who got applied, and now the to be is not applied. If you look at the definition of to be, when it says the next operator is to be, you can see what it expects the arguments to be. The numbers are the stuff, wait, what's that? The numbers are the stuff to the left and the right just by position. And the second pair, this is Python. The second pair is says that the stuff to the left is an object of type who, and the stuff to the right is object of type the. But we want something of type the, we want something of type player. So what you have to do in the definition here is mark it as a pass-through operator. And what that means is that it's still, the is still an operator, but it means the result of applying the operator is not going to be a the, it's instead going to be the argument players. It currently only works where it just takes the first argument. I haven't found a case where I needed to do more than that, but maybe there will be and I can fix it. But I don't want to fix it till I actually have such a case. So now let's run it again where the is marked as a pass-through operator. And then hopefully the to be is applied. There, so now we can see the to be when it selected the to-be operator, it's got the right settings for the arguments, a who and a player, and it applied them and did the bridge the way we wanted to generate the new context with the, subject and object. Okay, so now let's work on the generator. So generators take the context and convert them into readable strings, and the contexts are really just a bunch of nested JSON. Here we haven't defined any. Oh, first let me clean up the old one so maybe it'll run faster. So I'll clean up the junk from the junk that we copied because we copied the tutorial instead of writing something from scratch. So just get rid of all this stuff because I don't care. And if you want to combine them in the future, you can just combine the knowledge modules any way you want anyway, so they don't need to be in the same file. So then we got things. Oh, so some error, I haven't removed enough, so let's get count out of there. Okay, still a bit more to get rid of. Count. Okay, so it's so faster, I hope. And let's work on the generators now. So a generator takes a context and converts it to a string. And a context is just a JSON property bag. So it has this first part which is used to select the context, and then the second part which you can write, you can say how to convert the context into a string. So I'm just going to pull some properties out of what I know are in the context. Whatever. So we're just working on this. The contexts are not ordered. It's because you can combine knowledge modules. There's no way to really order them when you combine them. So they're not ordered. So the condition has to correctly select unambiguously which context you want. And it just will randomly pick the first one that matches. So now you can see the generator was applied. So now we have you can see it was applied for the to-be. So now we got to get it applied for the other context, the who and the, what was the other one? Player. So it's fairly straightforward at this point. Select the marker. So for who, I'm just going to print out who. Oh, the server side will put a property in the context, which is the word that came from the sentence. And usually that works good when you just use it in the generator. So I'm just going to use that instead. Forgot about that. Yeah, like that. So that's added by the tokenizer. Give that a run and see if it picked up the who. So now it's got who are in the generator. So that's pretty cool. You can do really cool stuff with this. Like you can do multiple different languages. You can do matching genders. It's like crazy. Now we'll do players. So, or player. Player, the marker is the marker of the operator, which I made player, and players is actually the word that would appear in the sentence. They're two different things. Who are players? Let's make who are the players. So I'm just doing this. We're just getting going. So I'm just doing sort of quickly. So we'll just do this. That's quick. Ta-da! Who are the players? So now we want to go like, well, what if we want to answer this sentence? That'd be cool. If we could answer the sentence too. So the client side has this we want to answer the sentence, pull those users out of the and print them in the answer. So what we're going to do is use the semantics. That applies before the generator, and it lets you manipulate the context programmatically. So the global object that's passed in when you do the call, and we're just going to check that it's set. Oops, sorry, get rid of the tracing so we can see this printout. So just comment that out, and then we can see the printout that I did to make sure the global object is set. No, it's not set. Okay, we got to fix that. I forgot to set that. My bad. Do they still say my bad? I don't know. Okay, Okay, so it should have been set there. Now we're passing it into the module, so it's available. So now let's run it again and make sure that it's got the, yeah, so there it's got the global object. So now we can use that to modify the context to have the answer in it. So let's look at that. So I'm just going to set the players to players. You could do fancier thing here, right? This is just a demo. Plus it's just started, so it'll be fancier later. So let's run that. Turn the tracing back on. Oh, oops, the tracing just shows what happens on the server side, it doesn't trace the client side. So we're not seeing the players in the context because that final listing came from the server side, but the semantics here run on the client side. So to see this, we'll have to print out the actual results from the call. That will have the semantics as done on the client side. The results are just the JSON you get. Okay, so now we'll print out the results, and then we should be able to see the players being assigned to the results. So I'll just stringify it so we can read it. Boom, bam, boom. Zippity zap. Fire it off. Okay, so now you can see that the context that's the final result of processing has the players that we assigned in the semantics. And that happens because there's the semantics on the server side, semantics on the client side. So you have to look at the thing in the results array. The trace won't have it. What we're going to do now, let's add some... we'll have two cases for the to be context. One is when it doesn't have the answer in it, and one when it does have the answer in it. Again, I have to write the condition fully because it's not ordered. So for the second case, we're gonna do a different sentence. We're gonna say the players are whoever, and then list the players. But when the players are present in the result, but when they're not, we're just gonna say the sentence as it originally came in. Who are the players? So I'll just do a quick version of this just to see it in working. Let's run that, see what happens. I get a typo, There, try it again. There, so now you can see instead of, well, it's not quite right, but we'll fix that. It's printing out the players are as the generated response. We'll just fix this. Players, who are the players? Now it's printed the players are. Yeah, so now it prints out the players are, and then it has the list that's been converted to JSON because we don't have any generators for those objects. Let me just fix this so it's this way instead. There, that makes more sense. So it's the same result in this case. Yeah, I like that better. Okay, so now we can work on the generators for the players and get them to print out coolly. Well, it's JavaScript, so I'm just gonna like match if the player IDs, if the ID starts with player, then I'm gonna use the generator. That's quick and easy. Why not? Give that a go. And let's make it say something fun. I don't know, the players. Oh, okay, well first just get it, make sure it's hitting this context. So I'll just like barf out the players and then the JSON. We can see that it's running that generator just to make sure that works. I found doing incremental development helpful. There, so we got the players are the players, object, blah. So we know it's hitting that generator. So now let's make it do something more specific. What we got? Oh, we can use the properties in the context. So let's do Aragon of eyes blue. right, let's give that a run, see how that does. Yeah, so now it's got Aragon of Eyes Blue, Bilbo's Eyes Brown. I wanted to say Aragon of Eyes Blue and Bilbo's Eyes Brown. This, it's really just dumping a list as a string, and that's why it gets the comma in there. So I added a helper function that can take lists and concatenate them with separators and maybe a final separator of and, like 1, 2, and 3. So you can make the separator would be like space, and then the final separator would be and. So it's just a helper function to help with that. You could just write it yourself here, but I found I used it a lot, so I just added one. So we're going to use that here, which is a list of players. So the helper function is called GS. The first argument it takes is the G, which is the global generator function. And then it takes the list, and then it takes the first separator, and then the final separator. If you leave the final separator off, it just defaults to the first separator. And if you leave all separators off, it defaults to spaces. So now we'll run it, and it should go, oh, what? Oh, I imported the function wrong. Okay, now I got it from the right place. Oops. Yeah, whatever, I'll fix that later. Okay, so now let's give it a run again. Now that we're importing it from the right spot. There, so now we got the players are Aragon Eyes Blue and Bilbo Eyes Brown, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And that's what the generators can do for you. I'm gonna do a bit more on this, and it'll be super cool.